Instead of respecting our boundary, she called me a bridezilla and said I was being dumb and unreasonable. Hey guys, welcome back to another week of me reacting to your wedding stories, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. I got a great story for you today. But first things first, a moment for the shirt. This was the shirt I wore for my engagement and photo shoot. So we're talking like 4 years ago now. And then these I wore to my wedding. So that was just a little fun. I had an interview this morning for the podcast. And so I dressed up a little bit for it. You don't always know what you're going to get with me. Sometimes I wear sweats all day, and then sometimes this happens. Okay, enough about that. Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving last week and had some time to relax and put your feet up. I know it can get very hectic around the holidays. I'm already thinking of all the things I have to do. So just really look for those pockets of time where you can rest and rejuvenate if possible. On to today's story. I got married on February 1st, 2025. From the beginning, my partner and I agreed on having a child-free wedding. This is going to be very controversial. We still wanted the kids and our families to be a part of the ceremony, though. His 3 nephews as ring bearers and my daughter as the flower girl. To make things easy, we arranged for a trusted family friend, a paid babysitter, to pick up all 4 kids after the ceremony. They're going to have a fun sleepover at a family member's house with food, toys, movies, everything. Okay, this is nice. This is nice. They thought everything through of like, it's child free, but we want kids there. Here is how we're going to take care of that situation. Of course, you want to make sure all the parents are okay with that because some parents will be like, well, who is this person? I need to meet them first. Where are they going? That would be my concern as a parent. But the fact that you're handling that as the bride and groom is big. I think that's a really great thing to take care of. The kids would have a blast and the adults could enjoy the reception. But my sister-in-law refused. Okay, before jumping the gun, as a mother now, I could see where I'd be like, I don't know that person. I don't know what house they're going to. It also depends on the age of the kids. There's a lot of things to consider. If I didn't know the house of where they were going or who the friend was, I don't think I would be sending my child. Just saying. If it were a room at the venue where I could keep checking on her, I think I would probably do that. It really just depends. There's so many factors into play, and it's hard to just right off the bat just be like, yeah, they can go with this person I've never met. She insisted her kids, ages 2, 3, and 8, stay at the reception, even though we clearly said we didn't want children there. I, though, would never say that my child needs to stay at the reception. I would either figure something out for myself, like have my own parents or in-laws pick her up, or I would be like, I have to sit this one out because I don't have childcare. I would never insist like she has to be there. Instead of respecting our boundary, she called me a bridezilla and said I was being dumb and unreasonable and refused to let the babysitter take them. Okay, I don't get the setting a boundary and then calling someone a bridezilla. They've made it very clear we want a no child or a child-free wedding. Here's how we are going to handle that on our end. Of course, you as a parent can make your own decision and do what you want, but insisting that our kids have to be at the reception and then calling her a bridezilla for saying no, like, no. I don't think that's. Then, because she was also one of my bridesmaids, she threatened to leave immediately after the ceremony, drop the kids off herself, miss the start of the reception, and tell everyone why she wasn't there. So, if she's going to leave immediately after, drop the kids off herself, and miss the start of the reception, she's pretty much still going to be there anyway. Like, if she doesn't miss the reception, I don't think that's that big of a deal. Or if she just doesn't want the kids to get in a car with someone else, I totally get that. Totally get that. I mean, 2 and 3 is still really young. So having my daughter around that age, I don't think I'd want them to get in a car with somebody else. So if you have to leave and take care of it yourself, I don't see the problem in that. At that point, I told her she was no longer a bridesmaid and no longer invited to the wedding. What? Okay, see, this is where I'm like, I disagree. I don't know. Maybe I needed to know more about the story first. But like, I'm just thinking my own situation. We had all our nieces and nephews invited for the ceremony and the reception. I was like, I'm not going to have them have to worry about like where to send the kids. They can stay because of course I wanted them there too, like dancing with us on the dance floor. But if I were that situation where I was like, okay, I want them to leave after, and then like a sister-in-law was like, well, I want to drive them, so I'm going to miss the beginning of the reception. I'd be like, okay, absolutely. I totally understand. I would never be like, well, you can't be a bridesmaid anymore if you're going to miss the beginning of the reception. I'd be like, your kids come first. Forget my wedding. Your kids' safety and how you feel comes first. And I'm sorry if that's controversial, but I don't know. I don't see how her saying I want to drop off the kids myself and leave after the ceremony. You have to let people do what's going to work for them. That's when the real chaos started. She began calling my mother, relatives, and friends, trying to tell them how awful I was being. She said things like, if they're that low, I can pay for the kids' plates. I don't agree with either person here because no children at the reception means no children at the reception. It's not about paying for it. I mean, maybe it is, but to then be like, well, I'll just pay for the kids' plates. Like, no, they just don't want kids there. I don't know. It had absolutely nothing to do with money. We just simply didn't want children at the reception. Her mother begged us to at least let her daughter and son-in-law attend without the kids. We eventually agreed. So she completely kicked her out of the wedding, and they uninvited them to the wedding over the sister-in-law wanting to do her own thing for her kids. And again, maybe I'm misunderstanding. I feel like they're both wrong, right? So sister-in-law is like, my kids have to be a part of the reception. They're trying to solve the problem over here. The bride and the groom are trying to solve the problem by here's a babysitter. She's not happy with that. She wants them there. So she's like, I'll drive them myself. So I'm still not sure of that whole situation. She'll drive them herself. But then to completely uninvite them. I don't know if this is the groom's sister or the groom's brother's wife. But either way, that's just nail in the coffin by saying, well, then you can't come to the wedding if you're not going to be a bridesmaid. They eventually agreed. But instead of letting her kids be in the ceremony, take photos, and enjoy the fun sleepover we planned, she refused to let them participate at all. Again, we're not hearing who this family member is or family friend where all the kids are going to stay. As a mom myself, I would not be letting my almost 3-year-old sleeping over somewhere. I just wouldn't. So it could have to do with that too. I mean, that's asking your kids to stay somewhere that maybe they've never stayed before. And again, a 2-year-old is pretty young. Everyone's different when it comes to their own personal boundaries and what they're comfortable with, where their kids are away from them. I personally would not want my daughter having a sleepover for the first time at someone's house where I've either never been or I don't know them. That's not in the cards for me. I would still want my kids to, though, be a part of the wedding and let them be a part of the photos, do all that stuff, but I would just not do the sleepover. Then came the rehearsal night. A family member still hosted the rehearsal dinner, even though the bridesmaid was no longer in the bridal party. The moment we arrived, she started acting miserable and making it obvious she was very upset. During dinner, she even began crying in front of my family and friends because her daughter wasn't involved anymore. I mean, she ultimately pulled her daughter out of the wedding, right? She's not going to take photos. She's not going to be in the ceremony. And then she's not going to do the sleepover. Okay, so now we're talking about the mother-in-law because the mom begged. Okay, it says her mother begged us to let her daughter and son-in-law attend without the kids. So it sounds like it's the groom's sister and mom. She begged the daughter and sister-in-law to be a part of the wedding. That was fine. But now, at the rehearsal dinner, the mother-in-law started acting miserable and making it very obvious she was upset. During dinner, she even began crying in front of family and friends because her daughter wasn't involved anymore, completely ignoring the fact that it was her son's wedding weekend. So now she's more hung up on the fact that the daughter said, I'm not going to be involved in the wedding. They took her out of the wedding as a bridesmaid. So she's more upset about that and ignoring the fact that it's her son's wedding weekend. Now I'm getting it. I ended up leaving my own rehearsal dinner early. We also had to change our entire getting ready plan for the next morning and move everything to my parents' house to avoid more drama. The day before the wedding, there was another argument over her and her daughter's behavior. So now we're talking about the mother-in-law and the sister. My partner and I stood up for each other, and thankfully we were on the same page. Then came the wedding day itself. Both in-laws arrived an hour late for family photos because they were waiting for the sister-in-law again. So now there's a divide, right? Because their one daughter's over here, their son's over here. It's his wedding day, so it should be more about him. However, they're pissed off and mad that the sister's not in the wedding anymore. So they're like, okay, who do we cater to right now? She didn't speak to me once during the entire wedding and completely ignored me until she got drunk. Then she suddenly went around telling guests how much she loved me and loved my parents, despite not acknowledging me the entire day. The worst part, I was a bridesmaid in her wedding the year before and did so much to help her. And she treated me horribly through every step of my own wedding. I think they're on two different pages of two different books. From what I'm getting right here, I wouldn't say the sister-in-law is treating her horribly. And I wouldn't say the bride was treating the sister-in-law horribly. I think they both wanted different things and couldn't work together to make it happen. Because this is very complicated when you throw children into the mix, right? While the bride has every right to have a child-free wedding and the groom, right? They did their part, right? We're going to set up childcare. We're going to set up a place where the kids can go play. We're going to bring games, whatever that is. The sister-in-law can say no, right? She can be like, I'm not comfortable with that. I'll have my kids be a part of the wedding, but I'm going to take them somewhere. But I think what really happened is when she was like, well, you're not in the wedding anymore. that was like a big kind of screw you because you're not doing what we want. And that's where the lines get a little blurred. Either one is being like right or wrong. I feel like it was a mixed communication. Like you can only control so much, right? You can have a child-free wedding, but if someone can't make it because of that, you have to respect it. Now, insisting that your kids be there and be like, well, I'll just pay for them, they can be there. No, like we're not doing that either. If it's child-free wedding, it's explicitly said, then you need to respect it. So I feel like it was either unwilling to budge in that. So yeah, that was my wedding experience. It would have been peaceful and beautiful if it weren't for one person insisting on making everything about herself. This is a tough one because I feel like there's a lot of hurt and I feel like it could have been solved through just an easy conversation and a little willingness to work with it. It's hard because like the current skit that I'm working on or from a couple weeks ago was about like a postpartum mom at a no kids wedding. And some people are like, well, it's no kids, but you still don't have to treat someone that way, right? You can be like, okay, maybe no kids at the ceremony, but let's get her set up comfortably in a room. Let's go check on her multiple times, whatever that is to help. This is like a sister-in-law having a boundary. And I'm just assuming maybe she doesn't want the kids to go stay at someone's house that she doesn't know. And even if she does know them, maybe she doesn't want them to sleep over somewhere. So if someone wants to step down though, because of the no children wedding, you have to like allow them. If she's not being a bridezilla and she's not being like a horrible person either, because they each have their own boundaries, but they're just not willing to see the other side. So yeah, I don't know. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Am I reading it wrong? I don't know. I don't think either of them are completely horrible people, and I don't think either one is like the complete angel either in this scenario. I feel like they just weren't willing to see the other side because again, like if you have a child-free wedding, more power to you. You can absolutely have that. But if people say no to certain things because of that, that's their choice. You can't get mad at someone that says no, that would rather be home with their kids or that doesn't want to have a random babysitter watch them. So it goes both ways. And my phone ran out of space. So thanks for hanging out with me this week, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye now.